Welcome to Secure the Bag Africa's African Thought Leadership webinar series, where we bring together industry leaders, speakers, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, coaches, and consultants to contribute to the African body of knowledge. Barbara Kamba-Nyathi is a psychotherapist, emotional alchemist, lifestyle and wellness coach, and best-selling author. She's the CEO of Bold Dialogue and the creator of the Holistic Transformation Program. She's an intuitive healer who assists people to regenerate after deep emotional wounding, trauma, and personal and professional loss and life changes. And today we are speaking to Barbara Kamba-Nyathi, who is in Harare, Zimbabwe. Barbs, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very well. Thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure.
Barbs, please tell us more about yourself, what you do, and what you love.
Oh, wow. I'm a psychotherapist, lifestyle and wellness coach, mediator. What else am I? I'm the founder and CEO of Bold Dialogue and the editor of Bold Dialogue magazine. I'm a director of Namibia Flying Labs. I'm a 2-time TEDx speaker. I'm an inspirational speaker and a mediator. I am passionate about healing. Well, not the healing of the physical body, although I guess I could try to bandage people around if I wanted. But I'm an intuitive healer. I practice eclectic psychotherapy, of course, and the coaching. What am I going to say? I specialize in Gestalt, clay, play, and art therapies. I also love helping people find their alignment in life, hence the term holistic. I'm a holistic healer. I believe we cannot deal with one aspect of someone's life and ignoring the other ones. So by holistic transformation, by being a holistic transformer, did I just call myself that?
Holistic transformer.
Excited. Yes, I feel like I'm a machine. You know those transformers, the rise of the machines. I believe in helping people find their transformation, their healing that is holistic. So I address the emotional, the spiritual, and the mental processes to give someone a holistic package or treatment. Yes.
Thank you so much for that intro, Barbs. And I know that you have a program called the Holistic Transformation Program. Could you tell us about it? How long is it? What is it about?
The Holistic Transformation Program is it's 6 to 8 weeks long. It's part of my coaching packages. We address issues that stem from childhood traumas, finding one's purpose and why, specific problems that someone may be experiencing, social or relationship issues that one may be going through. So it's a holistic transformation in that while we are addressing all these issues, we are looking at the emotional wellness of the person, their spiritual wellness, their cognitive wellness, and sometimes their physical, not necessarily treating like a medical doctor or a nurse, but there are some things that affect us physically that need to be addressed, that we talk about, like why do we engage in certain behaviors? Why do we maybe self-sabotage or do things that are self-harming in the name of, I don't know, progress or fitting in or coping? Because unhealthy coping mechanisms may manifest in physical activities, isn't it? So we address all those things, hence the holistic transformation.
Why is it so important to take a holistic approach? And what are some of the results that you've seen when you're dealing with your clients?
It's important to take the holistic approach because for us to succeed, for us to live in our full potential, to perform at our highest peak, or I think, highest peak, we need to be aligned. And alignment involves holistic living. If you're not aligned spiritually, if you're not aligned mentally, if you're not aligned emotionally, you cannot function. Some of the decisions you make or some of the choices you make may be contrary to you progressing, because we need to be growing. We need to be better versions of who we were yesterday or even 5 minutes ago. If we can't be better than who we were a few minutes ago or some time back, then we are not doing anything. We are just as good as dead, only waiting to be buried when the time is appropriate. Yes.
And when you're dealing with clients, what are some of the things that you've seen that indicate that the holistic approach is really important?
Some of the indications are someone having challenges, maybe managing their business or getting to the next step as far as their profession is concerned, but everything seems to be in place, like they are qualified, they have the right papers, the credentials are all right, the proper letters behind their names, but something is just holding them back. Then when you explore further, you discover it could be childhood traumas, it could be social traumas, it could be spiritual traumas that they are bearing, it could be mental traumas, it could be any kind of traumas that are holding them back. So by overcoming and finding healing and dealing with all the issues that may not be visible to the naked eye, you realize you are now living in alignment, you are able to perform and do your duties on a higher level. And it also opens your creativity, because we all have that inner creativity now inside of ourselves. But sometimes it takes someone else to unlock that, because
Right.
the door is really locked and maybe it has even gotten rusty. We haven't been exercising that part of ourselves.
So I just want us to take a quick refresher break. I want to ask you, Barbs, is that you in the background?
I've been
Is
told.
that you?
You are not the first person to ask this. It's so funny. There's a pastor from my church who sent me a message and said, so this bold dialogue, that's basically just talking about you because you talk a lot. And that picture is a picture of a bald person. I'm like, different spelling. It really had nothing to do with me. But the design of the logo now said I inspired the logo because of my bald head. Which brings us to a funny incident of, I was just joking and I said, I think I should start growing hair. And then someone shouted at me and said, now you want us to call your company Hairy Dialogue? And I'm like, why does it have to be hairy? So I think now I have to face the facts and accept that this is me. Okay. I can't deny it anymore. Yes.
That is you, Bobs. I love it. I almost asked you to turn to the side so I could be sure.
I've taken selfies with me also opening my mouth. I am standing next to the panel because it's so funny.
Okay, let's get back to the conversation. Now, you have quite a few videos out on your YouTube channel that people can check out by typing in @Bold Dialogue on YouTube and also searching for Bold Dialogue on Instagram and Facebook. And listening to you, there's one thing that always comes out. I mean, even when I speak to you one-on-one, you always talk about the importance of honoring your inner voice, honoring your spirit, honoring your intuition, and how there are a lot of answers within us that we never get to benefit from because we're ignoring that sound, that sense of self, let me say, that says, okay, you're going in the wrong direction, or this is not right for you. Can you talk more about that?
Interestingly, I was going to go straight into the inner voice and everything, but something just popped into my head that there are two ways of bringing up children or influencing people around us. The first one is instilling a sense of ownership and accountability. When you take ownership of your choices and everything, and you're encouraged from an early age, it's easy for you to listen to your inner voice. You do not give in too much to outside pressures. But if you are raised to believe that you cannot you are not an independent person, you cannot think independently of others, then you always seek validation from someone else. Hence, even when you get that warning voice inside, you don't pay attention to it because it's coming from the wrong place. You've been conditioned to think anything that is from within you is coming from the wrong place. The right place becomes the external, the society, the people around you. They end up becoming your voice of reason. You don't think for yourself. Okay, now that I've said that, now that it's out, I want to say we all have that inner voice, but it's about cultivating it, putting it into practice, allowing it to guide us, that we can be able to listen and actually pay attention. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, like, why am I feeling this way? It seems like a safe situation, I'm not in danger. But your intuition, your inner voice, it works together with your third eye. I've spoken about the bindi before, that, it's not just a symbolic thing. We need to see with the third eye. We put so much emphasis on the other two eyes, we ignore the third eye, which is inside, that sees things in a deeper way, things that may not be obvious to us if we just look at face value. So we need to cultivate that part of ourselves. It's a conscious decision we make, that I'm going to listen to the inner voice, because it never leads you astray. It's always guiding you in the right way. And sometimes we get the reason why maybe we were stopped from taking a leap later, some months or whatever time later. But we begin to see things begin to make sense after some time. But it's only when we allow ourselves to listen and to be guided by the inner voice. If we can live like that, being aligned to our inner voice, you'll discover we can do so much, we can achieve so much, because we are functioning from the most natural state that is for the best, because the universe or God or any higher power in your life cannot wish bad for you. You understand? We are meant to thrive. We are meant to grow. We are meant to be the best that we can be. But we need to be in alignment with the inner voice. Otherwise, we will have situations whereby our desires are taking us this way, the inner voice is saying this. In the end, we are just torn between. We don't know where we stand. So it's important to listen to that inner voice. It's very important.
And that's actually what I wanted to come to, Bobs. How do you know that it's your inner voice versus your ego and your desires. Because a lot of times we tell ourselves stories, mental stories. We create
Yes.
scenarios that are not true, and you just believe it. Like, I can literally believe something about you, Barb's, based on my own interpretation, and it becomes an inner voice. So how do you know that? How do you differentiate between the sound of your ego versus the sound of your inner voice?
The inner voice does not require us to rationalize anything. You just get for some people, it's not like a voice. Sometimes it's just that feeling that, oh, something is off here. It can be in a relationship with someone and you just get this uneasy feeling. It's not going to be big or, but you just get this uneasy feeling about something, a situation, a person, or whatever. Now, the other voice you're talking about, it's us rationalizing. Because I'm not used to being guided by this inner voice, it has not been groomed enough to be strong on its own that it can stand and say no, and I just listen to the no. Because no on its own is a complete sentence, isn't it? It's funny when we are telling people about abuse, when we talk of maybe gender-based violence, that no is a sentence on its own, is complete. You don't need to explain anything. It's the same thing with that. It warns us or guides us or to say yes or no if depending on the situation. It's when we start rationalizing in our heads. Maybe it's a yes, take the plunge and do something or start your business or whatever, right? Then I start saying, yeah, but the economy right now with the COVID and what, and I haven't obtained this. I can only start after I get ABC. But the fact that you got a yes, a nudge towards achieving your dream, means things are already getting aligned in your favor. Then you start rationalizing. Things don't go the way you were hoping, and you question, yeah, but why do these things happen to good people? I'm good people and what? Yes, you're good people, but you don't listen. Or it's a no. You are in a situation and it's a very uneasy situation. You can feel that something is off, but you want to give someone the benefit of the doubt. And you say, yeah, maybe, but they perform so well at work. They can't be so bad as a person in real life and what. We start rationalizing things. But they wear, designer outfits. They can't be that bad or what. We start rationalizing and defending our choice to a voice that is not asking for any defenses. It's either you listen or you don't. It doesn't stop the voice from telling you or from warning you if you need to change or you need to proceed or whatever. So it's important to listen and know that the other voice is you rationalizing, because you start having this long and winding conversation in your head. You are just rationalizing, trying to justify a certain action, a certain choice.
So, Bobs, is it safe to say that if you feel uneasy about a situation, an environment, a job, a person, it's dangerous to start over rationalizing, because you might actually dim your intuition and what it's trying to tell you? Because sometimes we feel something and then we try again, like you said, to convince ourselves, like you said, no, maybe that person isn't that bad, but the feeling has come to you. But then on the other hand, you may be creating stories in your own mind. Is there a difference in terms of the way it feels when it's your intuition, that the feeling just settled on you that actually I don't want to be treated this way?
The problem is with most people, after disregarding the warning of the inner voice, right? Let's say you are being mistreated by someone, but then they abuse you, then they buy you a diamond ring just because you're special to them. Then you start rationalizing that I must have deserved the ill treatment or the abuse, because if he didn't love me, he wouldn't have bought me this ring, right? So in the end, it's no longer about rationalizing. I have allowed myself to be, we humans have this habit of shaming themselves, self-shaming, self-sabotage, because I've already allowed myself to, I have all these things to show for this relationship, right? Let's say it's material things. And then I want to leave now. I mean, what will people say? And what kind of a person am I? Maybe if I wanted to leave, I should have. We just keep explaining and justifying and rationalizing things. But in the end, it's about shaming that I can't leave now after accepting all this. There's some element of hypocrisy. But that's not it. When you are now empowered enough to walk out of a toxic relationship, walk out. It doesn't matter what you got from the relationship. And people will judge. If you stay in an abusive relationship, let's say, and you eventually get killed, people who were telling you to power through the pain and whatever will be the first ones to say, why didn't she leave if she knew he was that bad? They'll even say, but she came to me and said ABC. I don't know why she remained in the relationship. And if you walk out, they will still judge, how can she leave someone like that? With the way he was buying her presents and stuff, people always talk.
And it's the same for any toxic relationship. It's funny that this week I've spoken to two people who described very toxic work environments to the point where people were falling physically and mentally ill. And it's the same thing of, I don't want to be treated this way, or something about the way this person speaks to me is off. But, it's like we've spoken about this before, that even abusive people and abusive situations have a good side. And now that side is what you start rationalizing. And I love what you said about the diamond ring, that, wait, if Bob's didn't love me, she wouldn't buy me this ring. So I think that's now taking us to another topic that you really love, which is alignment, because not every situation that you find yourself in is going to honor you. And there's a lot of rationalizing and justification that takes place.
Yes.
So how do you know when you are out of alignment? Because I think that alignment is actually what pushes you to leave, because you may not be able to leave your job immediately, but now that your intuition is speaking to you, you can start finding ways out of the situation, right?
Yes. I think the first and foremost thing is alignment. When you are in alignment, you don't feel the need to rationalize. You don't feel the need to explain yourself, because those who get you, who get why you are doing ABC, they will not bug you about explanations and reasons and yada yada, And you don't owe anyone an explanation. Like, you get random people who start questioning, yeah, but why did you do this? Really? Because it was disturbing. It wasn't giving me harmony. My spirit was worried. It was not in a good space. But when you're aligned, when everything is in harmony, you can sleep soundly knowing, oh, I just quit my job. I'm still to figure out what's the next step, But you can sleep soundly because nothing is out of work. Emotionally, you're in a good space. Spiritually, you're in a good space. Mentally, you are in a good space. And physically, you are no longer being battered left, right, and center. You are actually allowing yourself to take time to breathe. Being in alignment doesn't mean we stop being creative, we still work, we do things, but everything is at peace. There is harmony with everything. You don't feel like you are just working because it's what is expected of you. You are just staying in this relationship because that's what the family expects of you. You are staying. Actually, it's not even staying. You are in this relationship because it feels right. The other person compliments you. The other person values you. The other person is loving enough to apologize when they are wrong. And the apology is sincere. It's coming from a sincere place, not buying your affection with gifts and stuff like that. I'll give you an example. There was an incident before my divorce. I remember the ex said something that was very abusive, and especially to my mother, right? And then he bought me a diamond pendant. He never apologized for what he did. He told me I was overreacting, but just gave me this diamond pendant, which I hated with my whole heart. And I'm glad to say there was a break-in at home and it was stolen.
I've never actually heard anybody express gratitude for a break-in, but you know what?
I was so grateful. And the only thing that bothered me with the break-in was they even stole my iPod. I loved that iPod.
Gosh.
But I got another one. It's fine. But the thing is, I was so happy when that thing was stolen. Like, oh, God is good. Of course, they stole the TV and other things and some cash, but the diamond was gone.
And that was symbolic, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I could look at him without getting angry after it was stolen because the universe had fought my war for me. I would have wanted to shove it down his throat or something, but the universe worked in my favor. We lost a lot to show that I think it was about the diamond. None of my shoes were stolen. And you know my shoe collection, I have all kinds of shoes. They were thrown on the bed, but they were all there. I remember the first thing I rushed to check after we discovered there had been a break-in was to check if my shoes were there.
And they were.
Oh, they were. So you cannot use material things to buy someone's loyalty and everything and affection without apologizing. That's why it's important to apologize genuinely from your heart. And when you apologize, you don't repeat the same mistake. Oh, well, we are human, but we don't repeat the same. There are some things which are a result of choices people make. People choose to say abusive things to others. People choose to violate the peace of other people. But now, if you're going to be apologizing every time and giving me a heartfelt apology and you abuse me again, then it's just rubbish. I am to blame because I keep hoping. I don't know what I'm hoping for. I can't even say whatever people hope for when they remain in the toxic relationship. And I keep enabling the abuser because they know they can get away with anything. If they can shed a tear or two, cook me my favorite meal and apologize and buy me flowers and this and that. So we need to come to a point where we allow ourselves to listen, even if it's scary, because you are taking a leap into faith, into something that you are not even sure of. How is this going to play out? How am I going to survive? How am I going to continue? Or even in the same circles that I was in. But it's about taking a leap of faith.
Right, Bobs. I just want to take you back to alignment again, and the point you made about us participating in abuse. I think that's a conversation we don't have enough.
Yes.
What is it in you that is broken or not aligned that allows you to tolerate certain acts towards you, whether it's in your relationship or your job, wherever it is? So I'm just trying to understand alignment and then what is broken within you.
I love the term you used, broken. It's a broken sense of self-worth. If I do not see myself as worthy of loving, worthy of being treated with respect, worthy of being treated the way I want to be treated, I can easily allow someone to be abusive towards me because I will not stand up for myself. I'm not saying we stand up and fight back or anything. Sometimes walking out of the toxic relationship, let's say you seek help, nothing is working, leave. Having the guts to say, I'm walking out of this. So when there's a broken sense of self-worth, it may be difficult to achieve total alignment, to say you are living in holistic alignment with your higher being, with your inner being, with everything about you, because you need the validation of someone else. Your identity lies in another person. You cannot leave this toxic relationship because people associate you with this other person. If the person is removed, or if you remove yourself from this person, then you are no longer anybody. That's why you get sometimes people who, they will not tell you who their names are. I am Mrs. So-and-so. But you never get the partner saying, I'm Mr. So-and-so, calling them like I'm Mrs. Christine, and you say you are Mrs. Babs or something like that. You understand? They will introduce themselves as themselves, but you want to be attached, affiliated to the other person because your sense of worth is not within you. Which also brings us to my earlier point about having a locus point of control, which is external instead of internal. If you are raised to have your validation, to have your worth coming from elsewhere, and there is no change in that narrative, there is no paradigm shift, you will always seek validation from the other person. And you can enable the abuser because they know you need them. That's why these people start by testing the waters. How far can they go with you? How much pain can you endure before you stand up and speak up?
And what happens when you stand up and speak up, Bobs?
They do feel threatened. They can even threaten to cut you off and what. But you can always start afresh. Like I said, it's not easy, but it's doable. So many people are starting afresh in life. And when you speak to someone, that's when you discover there is support. Remember the inner voice that we spoke of? We said there is a yes and a no, right? If you're aligned, if you're associated with the right kind of people, it says yes. These are the people who are going to help you. And sometimes they are just seasonal people. They will come into your life during that season when you need someone to help you get back on your feet, or just get on your feet if you have never been on your feet. But you need to be open. You need to be aligned so that you know this one is not just going to be an emotional crutch. This one is actually going to help me move on. But you cannot identify emotional crutches if you are not aligned, if you don't know what the small voice is saying to you, if you've never listened to it. Because there are some people who come and they seem like they are helping us, but they are just enabling certain things which may also be toxic. So there's so much in that toxicity. You need to be aware that you may attract even more toxic people because you are vibrating from a toxic place.
Now, Bobs, in terms of broken self-worth, how does it manifest? Because there's so many underlying issues. You've mentioned, how you were raised and things like that. If you have abandonment issues, you're afraid of being left. If you have rejection issues, you are terrified of rejection. When somebody speaks down to you, you still want their validation. How do you know that you're living with a broken sense of self-worth?
I'll give you like kind of a practical example. Let's say I compliment your living room, right? Say, oh, Christine, that's a beautiful living room. I love that plant, And then you say, yeah, there are better living rooms than this one. This is nothing compared to, I don't know, so and so's living room. The inability to accept a compliment. You downplay yourself. You bring attention to something which is better than what you have. You bring attention to someone who is better than you. But the compliment was not a question about who else is better than you. It was just about something good and positive about you. You understand? Someone comes and says, even closer to home, Christine, you are the best brand coach I've ever seen. Then, oh, but you should meet so and so. She's amazing. Who cares about that? I came and complimented you because I'm impressed by what you do. And maybe I want to sign up as your client. Mm-hmm. But you just dismiss yourself. You start raising awareness to something else or someone else who is outside of you. That's a sign. Failure to accept a compliment. Because deep down, you've worked hard to be where you are. You've put in so much work, so much effort in becoming and perfecting your art, in becoming the coach that you are right now. But when the moment someone comes and says, oh, you're an amazing coach. Oh, it's nothing, but you should see so and so. They are amazing. Whatever situation you are in, the moment you fail to take a compliment, the moment you feel you have to downplay yourself, there is a problem.
And then even allowing people to speak to you in a certain way. Why is it that you feel that you can't demand the respect that you deserve?
And the thing is, you don't even demand. I've always spoken to people about the issue of saying, I'm fighting this, we are fighting for what? I don't believe in fighting. I refuse. If I have to fight for something, then it's wrong. For me, that's a very loud, clear no from my inner voice that I'm doing the wrong thing. I don't fight for anything. What is meant to be mine comes to me. I can walk in and say, I want this. If it's meant to be mine, it will be given to me. I don't fight for anything. There's a problem when we start fighting or having to put in so much, putting so much negative energy into achieving something positive. Darkness and light don't mix. You can't hoy in a bit of darkness so that the light gets brighter. No, either the light is bright or it's not. Simple. So we don't fight for anything. We don't, people love talking about these negative things as a way, as a means to achieving positive things. That's not how it's supposed to be. Then you're not in alignment. There's another power or a force that's working in you that is not aligned with everything that you stand for. When your purpose, your why, your passion, and whatever it is that drives you are aligned, you are not fighting anyone. And you get clarity while you're working, and you perfect your art. People who fight for whatever, they never get better at what they do. They can just do it.
Bob's always dropping these bombs of wisdom. Now, I wanted to ask you something, but now I want to ask something else. And I feel like asking 3 questions at once, but I won't do that.
You can ask them one at a time.
One at a time.
Yes.
So, Bob's, what healing needs to take place before you are aligned? And the next question, they're tied to each other, but we can take them separately. You've mentioned that you don't believe in fighting for what's yours. And now I'm going to talk about respect and consideration and being treated as worthy and valuable, right? So does that mean that you just know that you're not in the right place when you're not being treated properly? Like you instinctively know from the beginning that, okay, this is not what I want. I will request what I want, and if I don't get it, then I'm out of there. What does it take for you to get to that point?
Okay, I'll try to answer all your 3 questions. If I skip something, just take me back. The first and foremost thing is to do inner child work. You heal the childhood traumas that have skewered that self-worth in you, that have given you a warped perception of who you are, that has eroded the worth, the value that you bring as a person, as an individual. Because you realize that it all stems from things that happened in our childhood. And once we have healed those wounds, the thing with inner child traumas or any kind of trauma, as long as they are not healed, they are wounds. They never get to come to a point on their own when they become scars. So we find the healing that we want. We go through the process, we rip off the scab that is just covering the festering wound inside. We clean that wound, we take out all the gunk that has been accumulating, because the gunk is the stuff that makes you think you're not worthy to be loved, you're not worthy to be respected. You have to work hard to earn someone's respect. The respect must come naturally. It has to be automatic. Otherwise, if I have self-respect and you don't see my worth, you don't value me, there's something wrong with you, isn't it? You need to be healed. There is some issues that you're dealing with. So we clean, we allow it to air, we breathe. Because the cleaning of the gunk, the removal of the scab and everything, that's painful. It's not going to be easy. There is going to be some discomfort. Any form of growth comes with discomfort in it. Just like germination, a seed does not just grow like that, but it has to, the plant that is coming out has to find its way out of the seed that is keeping it inside, isn't it? And then it has to get its way out of the ground. That's a lot of coming out of places. But eventually it comes out and we have a plant. So just like that, It's a process that's going to be discomfortable. Is it discomfortable? Uncomfortable. That is so funny. It's going to be an uncomfortable journey, but it's worth it. Once we have healed, you are easily able to look at what happened to you in the past and just use it as a point of reference. It's no longer where you dwell, because most people are adults functioning from a wounded childhood. We are just oversized kids operating from a painful space. So once you are healed, it's easier to allow that child to have peace and know that whatever happened there, it's not the definition of who you are now and what you want to be. What was the other question?
Actually, now just got swallowed up.
Something to do with the alignment.
Yes, it was again. Okay, you've answered what healing is necessary to become aligned.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I got so swallowed up in your previous. I think you probably answered everything. And I'm saying that I think you've answered everything. Another thing that I want to ask you is, there's this video that I watched, a documentary about emotional abuse and how it actually causes wounds that you can't see. So this woman was talking to her boyfriend, and he kept saying very horrible things to her. And each thing that he said caused a physical wound. So maybe it was a bust lip, or, it punched her nose. So she just looked bloodied, but he hadn't touched her. So now it's making me think about how we respond to certain things in an unproductive way based on our wounds. So on one hand, you have abusive people who are coming from abuse themselves or whatever happened to them, and they're always acting out. But what about people who are victims? Because a lot of times a victim of emotional abuse is now out of alignment. They cannot tell the difference between what's normal and abnormal. And then they may respond in ways that invite more blame and shame, Can you always be blamed for that, Bobs? You're moving around with all of these wounds. And now every time somebody touches you, like say your arm has a huge open wound and somebody touches you there and you just lash out.
First of all, hurt people do hurt others if they don't get healing, if they don't get the help they need to deal with their own issues. And then secondly, sometimes for a person who has never, although I don't know if it may be possible, but let's say it's possible, someone who has never been abused emotionally, they've just heard of it, but they've never seen it, they've never experienced it. And then here comes someone and they abuse them emotionally. The way they process this is different from someone who has been subjected to this kind of abuse before. What I mean is you actually go through the grieving stages. Like the first thing is shock, like, huh? Can someone talk like this? Can someone do this to another person? You don't know what to do. You are like shocked, you are paralyzed. It takes time for you to process this and then start saying, but this made me feel this way. Now you are reflecting, you are analyzing how it made you feel. You look at it now from a different perspective, but how can someone make me feel this way? But the immediate thing you feel is shock, like you don't know what to do. You've never heard anything like this. Then you start dealing with, then because this is not normal to you, you may start rationalizing. That's the bargaining. Maybe if I do this, then this won't happen. Maybe I provoked them. We start rationalizing, we talk, and we start saying, I'm going to be a better sister, I'm going to be a better daughter, I'm going to be a better wife, I'm going to be a better partner. That's us bargaining, so that we do not provoke that anger or that emotion that caused the other person to hurt us. But at the end of the day, when you have realized that this is abuse, and someone who is aware that this is abuse because maybe they've experienced this in the past, it's important to do exactly the same steps, to take the same steps. Seek help, speak about it. If you need to report this abuse. Walk out of an abusive relationship. But sometimes it's not easy. It's not as easy as just lifting my bags, like I have bags sitting behind the door waiting for me to walk out if I'm exposed to anything. You need the help. You need someone to help you so that you can come to that decision. Because whether it's therapy or whatever, at the end of the day, the decision is yours, the choice is yours, but you need to make an informed choice, an informed decision through help. So whether it was the first time to experience this kind of abuse, or it's something that you've always experienced, seek help. And whichever category you fall in, it causes emotional wounding. So get healing for that wound.
Thank you,
At the end of the
Bobs.
day, you're welcome. I was about to say, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how it started. You need to be aligned because it steals your peace. It robs you of your joy. It robs you of that, Zen feeling you have when everything is in perfect order, when everything is in harmony. Yes.
Thanks again, Bobs. Bobs is so polite. Every time you're like, thanks, Bobs, you're welcome. But Bobs, before we end, I just wanted to add to what you said, because you've been talking about healing a lot, and now you're talking about getting help. But it now comes to mind that you can't even know that you need help or you're in an unhealthy or toxic situation if you're not aligned, right? How scary is that?
It is, because it makes us realize that there is so much wounding out there. There's so much hurting people who are walking around carrying all these pains, all this emotional baggage without being aware of it. So we need to start conversations. Let us normalize talking about seeking psychotherapy, seeking help, just like we have normalized in society, asking a young lady, how old are you? You are not yet married. How old are you? You don't have a child. How old are you? Yada, yada. How old are you? Who cares? I could be 60 and still studying my grade 2. Who cares? We need to normalize things that matter, things that are pro-life, things that are pro-healing, things that help us become better. Because if I'm better, my impact on you means it's positive. We impact the world in a positive way. And any vibration that you have, you'll make people want to know, oh, you are like this. How do you do it? I see a therapist. I see this. I have a coach. I have that. So it's important to normalize such conversations and stop asking people about their age or the state of their uterus or whatnot. It's none of our business.
That is very true, Bobs. And what I've taken from this, especially for people who don't even know that they need help or that help is available, is listen to your intuition, respect and honor that voice. If something feels off, it's off. you know, even if somebody
Yeah.
rationalizes it or says that you are overreacting, or now you get so caught up in their good side, but he does this or she does this. If something feels wrong, it's wrong. In conclusion, Bobs, I'd like you to tell us again about the holistic transformation program in light of what we've discussed. What can we expect from this program?
We should expect it's a no, what is it? No bars hold. What do people say? I never know.
No holds barred.
No holds barred. It's so funny. No bars hold. Maybe it should be no bars hold. Yes.
Remix.
We go everywhere. I will help you face the things that I will help you dig deep so that we unravel everything. We put it right there on the table and we address each issue. The beauty of it is that you gain clarity and you even understand where other people who have played a role in your wounding were coming from. Because not everyone who's wounding you intends to wound you. Maybe they think they are doing you a favor, they are doing the best for you, yet they are harming you. So you get to forgive yourself, you forgive those who have hurt you, you will find peace within yourself and you heal. You are no longer a slave of the trauma that occurred donkey years ago, and you are in a clearer state of mind whereby you can now look at things objectively without getting all emotional, or maybe someone says something and it triggers you no longer get these triggers. And when you identify a trigger, you now know what to do. Instead of lashing out or being abusive to another person, you now know how to deal with these triggers in a healthy way. And you also become more aware of the inner voice. And you take time to think about what it's telling you. That's why I tell people that if you are put in a corner, you are made to feel a certain type of way, do not react. Reaction is just me going off and, maybe even causing more harm because now there are tempers and we are both angry, we're screaming at each other. Take time to respond. Responding means I give myself time to breathe before I talk back to you, before I act out on something. Just breathe, taking a deep breath in, out, 5 times minimum. You can go up to 10 times depending on how much emotion has been aroused in you. By the time you are done with those inhaling and exhaling, you are good to go. You will not be pulled into these squabbles. You will not be forced, because I don't think you are really forced. You will not be nudged in the wrong way, in the negative way. So it also helps you now find balance. You now know what your passion is, what your purpose is, what your duty is towards humanity, because whatever we do, we are helping each other as humans. We become better people to approach. We become better people to work with. We are nicer people to hang around with. And we are happier. And we have that self-respect that is very important. And the way we carry ourselves will also determine how people around us treat us.
Thank you, Bobs. As somebody who has been through the program, I can definitely testify to its effectiveness. You come out with one issue, this is what I want to deal with, this is what I want to focus on. And of course, Bobs does her digging with those little hands of hers. Do not underestimate the small hands. So she does all this digging, and it's very empowering because you actually learn how to, like she said, identify and respond to triggers and, counsel yourself at critical times, critical moments. And you change, your energy changes, your energy field changes, and you start to be drawn towards what is actually in your highest good. But then you're also able to assess yourself. I think that's what I love the best, to see that you can also have toxic traits that you've learned, in response to what has happened to you, but it doesn't mean that you can justify them. So definitely an amazing program. Barbs, how can we get in touch with you?
You can send me an email at bolddialogue@icloud.com, or go to my website and book an appointment, www.bolddialogue.co.zw. Oh, that's a lot of things.
Did you say double W?
I don't know.
Double.
Yeah. It just sounded so weird.
Just double W. Just two W.
Okay, 3 W's and whatever, you know how to do the website stuff. It's so funny.
Moms, what we're going to do is we'll just put your contact details at the end of this
please,
video to make
and
it
the WhatsApp
easy. How about
number.
that? Everything.
Yes, please. Yes. Because
thanks so much for joining us, Bobs.
It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed our session.